A life between medicine and philosophy. The 18th century was a time when ideas could shake empires. France, especially, was a boiling pot of revolutions, political, scientific, and intellectual. It was an age when men like Rousseau were asking, "What is the nature of man?" Voltaire was demanding freedom from dogma. Diderot and D'Alembert were compiling the encyclopedia to spread knowledge to every corner of society. And in the laboratories, figures like Antoine Lavoisier were reinventing chemistry, showing that the natural world was governed by discoverable laws rather than mystical forces. In this world of transformation was born Pierre-Jean-Georges Cabanis, 1757 to 1808, a man who would not only heal bodies but also question the very nature of life and thought. He was not content with being just a doctor. He became a bridge between medicine and philosophy, a thinker who tried to understand not just disease but the human condition itself. Cabanis' most famous, and controversial, claim was that the brain secretes thought as the liver secretes bile. To his critics, this sounded like reducing the human soul to a chemical process. But to Cabanis, it was not a denial of human dignity, it was a recognition that life, mind, and body are deeply intertwined. His life lessons come from this union of science and humanism. They are not abstract ideas locked in books, but practical wisdom grounded in experience, in hospitals, in political turmoil, and in quiet reflection. To learn from Cabanis is to learn how to live wisely, balancing reason with compassion, health with happiness, and science with humanity. The men behind the ideas. Childhood and intellectual awakening. Cabanis was born in Cosnac, a small village in France. He was not from nobility, yet his early intelligence earned him a place among intellectual circles. Growing up in a time when medicine was evolving from superstition into science, he became fascinated by how the human body worked. But unlike many physicians, he was also passionate about literature and philosophy. He read widely, from the Greeks to modern thinkers, and developed friendships with revolutionary figures such as Mirabeau. These friendships placed him at the heart of the French Revolution, where questions of politics, morality, and human well-being were not theoretical, they were matters of survival. Cabanis' double life, as doctor and philosopher, gave him a unique voice. He treated the sick, but he also asked, what does health mean? What role does it play in happiness, in wisdom, in society itself? These questions shaped his philosophy, and from them we can draw lessons that still guide us today. Lesson 1: The mind and body are deeply connected. In Cabanis' time, many still believed in dualism, the idea, made famous by René Descartes, that the body and soul are separate substances. The body was seen as a machine, while the mind or soul was immaterial, untouchable by science. Cabanis rejected this divide. To him, the mind was not floating above the body, it was rooted in it. He argued that thought, mood, and consciousness emerge from physical processes. His famous metaphor, "the brain secretes thought as the liver secretes bile," was shocking but revolutionary. He didn't mean that thought was nothing but a chemical secretion. Rather, he meant that mental life was not detached from the body. What you eat, how you sleep, the state of your health, these shape the way you think and feel. Historical example. Cabanis observed patients whose mental states changed drastically with physical illness. A fever could cause hallucinations. A poor diet could lead to melancholy. He even noticed how emotions like grief or anxiety could worsen physical symptoms. For him, this was proof the body and mind were not separate, they were partners in health and suffering. Modern reflection. Today, science echoes Cabanis with striking precision. We know about the gut-brain axis, where bacteria in the stomach influence mood and cognition. We understand that exercise releases endorphins, lifting mood. Sleep studies prove that lack of rest impairs memory, judgment, and emotional balance. What Cabanis glimpsed in the 18th century has become medical consensus: to heal the mind, we must also heal the body. Life lesson. If you want clarity of thought, emotional balance, or creative energy, begin with the body. Eat nourishing food. Rest deeply. Move your body. Care for your physical health as an act of love for your mind. The two are not separate, they are one. Science must serve humanity. Cabanis lived through one of history's most violent upheavals, the French Revolution. He saw firsthand how knowledge could be a tool of liberation but also a weapon of destruction. During this time, he served not only as a physician but also as an intellectual advisor to revolutionary leaders. He believed that science and medicine should not remain locked in academies, they must be used to improve the condition of humanity. He was wary of science becoming cold and detached. Knowledge, in his view, had no meaning unless it could relieve suffering, improve health, and uplift society. Historical example. When Cabanis was called to attend Mirabeau, one of the Revolution's greatest orators, he did not see him only as a political figure but as a human being battling illness. He cared for him as a patient, not merely as a statesman. To Cabanis, medicine was always personal, it was a human act of compassion, not just technical skill. Modern reflection. In our age, technology and science advance faster than ever: artificial intelligence, biotechnology, genetic editing. But Cabanis' warning remains urgent: progress without compassion is dangerous. We see this in debates about artificial intelligence, climate science, and medical ethics. Knowledge is powerful, but if divorced from humanity, it can harm more than it heals. Life lesson. Whatever knowledge you gain, whether in science, business, or personal life, ask yourself, does this help others? Does it uplift or exploit? Knowledge is not neutral, it carries responsibility. Use it to serve, not to dominate. Lesson 3. Health is the foundation of happiness. Cabanis was a physician before anything else, and through years of practice he came to a simple but profound truth: health is the foundation upon which all happiness rests. He wrote that even wealth, power, or genius cannot bring joy if the body is broken. A philosopher cannot think clearly with a fever. A statesman cannot govern wisely if he is weak or sick. A poet cannot write if pain consumes him. For Cabanis, medicine was not only about extending life but about preserving the quality of life. A life without health is a life without the full capacity for joy, freedom, and wisdom. Historical example. During the Revolution, many intellectuals and leaders sacrificed health for politics, working long hours, neglecting sleep, and enduring constant stress. Cabanis saw how this destroyed their vitality and judgment. He argued that even revolutionaries, in their pursuit of justice, must guard their health, because without it, they could not serve the cause effectively. Modern reflection. In today's world, people often chase success at the cost of their health. We glorify hustle culture, sleepless nights, and stress as badges of honor. But the consequences are burnout, anxiety, and chronic disease. Cabanis' lesson is timeless: you cannot build happiness on a foundation of exhaustion and sickness. Life lesson. Guard your health fiercely, it is your true wealth. Eat, sleep, and live in ways that preserve your energy and vitality. Success, love, creativity, all depend on a healthy body and mind. Lessons from observation, fragility, education, and balance. Lesson 4. Observe before you judge. Cabanis was not only a philosopher but also a physician at a time when medicine was slowly shifting from superstition to science. In the 18th century, doctors often relied on tradition or authority rather than observation. Many treatments were based on guesswork or ancient ideas that hadn't been tested. Cabanis broke with this tradition. He insisted that physicians and thinkers must ground their conclusions in careful observation of reality. For him, medicine was not about repeating what Galen or Hippocrates said centuries earlier. It was about studying actual patients, noting symptoms, and learning from experience. This principle wasn't limited to medicine. It became part of his philosophy. To Cabanis, whether in politics, ethics, or daily life, you should never jump to conclusions without first observing reality. Historical example. When Cabanis treated patients, he would often spend long hours simply listening and watching. He believed the body revealed truths if one paid attention. For example, rather than immediately prescribing treatments, he would look at how the patient's lifestyle, diet, and environment shaped their illness. He even applied this in politics. During the Revolution, when emotions ran high and rash judgments led to bloodshed, Cabanis urged his peers to step back, observe carefully, and act with reason. Unfortunately, his advice was not always followed, and history bears witness to the consequences. Modern reflection. We live in an age of instant reactions. Social media encourages us to form opinions within seconds, often without facts. News spreads faster than verification. People are judged by a single mistake without understanding the full story. Cabanis' lesson feels almost prophetic. Slow down, observe, and gather evidence before judging. Whether it's in your personal relationships, your career, or your worldview, patience in observation prevents error and deepens wisdom. Life lesson. Before you criticize, listen. Before you react, observe. Before you conclude, learn. Wisdom begins not with speaking but with seeing. Lesson 5. Human nature is both fragile and resilient. Cabanis, as a physician, lived in constant proximity to suffering and death. He treated patients who were weakened by disease, consumed by fever, or broken by injury. He witnessed how fragile the human body could be, how easily life could flicker out. Yet he also saw something remarkable: the resilience of life. Bodies that seemed near collapse often healed. Patients who appeared hopeless recovered with care and time. He compared life to a flame, delicate, flickering, easily extinguished, yet astonishingly persistent when shielded and nourished. Historical example. During epidemics in France, Cabanis observed how communities would despair at the frailty of life. Yet he also saw how the sick could recover with even small improvements in diet, hygiene, or emotional support. He recorded how the human spirit, the will to live, played as great a role as medicine itself in recovery. This gave him a balanced view of humanity. We are neither invincible gods nor powerless victims. We are fragile, yes, but also equipped with a deep resilience that can astonish us when tested. Modern reflection. Think of the resilience of people today, survivors of cancer, victims of war who rebuild their lives, or ordinary individuals who overcome trauma and hardship. At the same time, the pandemic reminded us how fragile life truly is, how a microscopic virus can halt the entire world. Cabanis' insight captures this paradox: to live fully, we must accept both our fragility and our resilience. Pretending we are unbreakable makes us careless. Believing we are too fragile makes us despair. The truth is in between. Life lesson. Embrace your fragility, it makes you human. Trust your resilience, it makes you strong. Life is not about never falling, it is about rising again and again. Lesson 6: Education shapes the future. Cabanis was not satisfied with treating individuals. He wanted to heal society itself. And he believed the greatest medicine for society was education. For him, knowledge should never remain locked in elite circles. He saw education as a public good, a way to empower ordinary people to live healthier, wiser, and freer lives. He argued that ignorance was as dangerous to society as disease was to the body. Just as physicians preserve physical health, teachers preserve the health of civilization. Historical example. During the French Revolution, debates raged over what the new republic should look like. Cabanis argued strongly for a system of public education, where science and philosophy would be taught not only to elites but to the wider public. He saw education as a weapon against tyranny, superstition, and inequality. He compared knowledge to medicine. It strengthens the mind the way food strengthens the body. Without education, societies fall into error, oppression, and stagnation. Modern reflection. In today's world, the importance of education has only grown. Yet we still face inequality of access. In many places, millions of children go without basic schooling. At the same time, the internet provides vast amounts of information, but not all of it is trustworthy. Just as bad medicine can harm the body, misinformation can harm society. Cabanis would remind us, education must be accurate, compassionate, and widely accessible. It is the cornerstone of both individual freedom and collective progress. Life lesson. Share what you know. Learn constantly, but also pass your knowledge to others. Education is not only about personal growth, it is about strengthening the whole community. Lesson 7: Balance reason with emotion. Cabanis is often remembered as a materialist thinker who emphasized the physical basis of thought. Yet he did not dismiss emotion. He recognized that feelings shape human life as much as reason does. He observed that emotions, love, fear, grief, joy, have powerful effects on the body. They can heal or harm, energize or exhaust. He argued that philosophy and medicine must take feelings seriously, because they are not weaknesses but essential parts of being human. At the same time, he cautioned against letting emotions rule without balance. Reason, he said, must guide emotion, yet reason without emotion is cold, and emotion without reason is reckless. The wise life is one that holds the two in harmony. Historical example. During the French Revolution, Cabanis saw what happens when emotion overwhelms reason: mobs driven by anger, leaders consumed by passion, decisions made in haste that cost thousands of lives. Yet he also knew that without passion, revolutions would never ignite. Reason alone cannot move people to action, it needs emotion as its ally. Modern reflection. In modern life, we see the same tension. Some people pride themselves on being rational while dismissing emotions as irrational. Others let emotions drive every choice, often leading to regret. But neuroscience today confirms what Cabanis intuited: reason and emotion are not enemies, they are partners. For example, studies show that people with brain injuries affecting emotional processing struggle to make decisions, even when their rational faculties remain intact. Emotion provides value and direction to reason. Life lesson. Do not suppress your emotions, they are part of your wisdom. But do not be enslaved by them either. Learn to listen to your feelings, then guide them with reason. Balance is the key to human flourishing. Lessons from mortality, community, and the courage to question. Lesson 8: Mortality gives life meaning. As a physician, Cabanis was intimately familiar with death. He spent countless hours at the bedsides of patients, watching some recover and others slip away. Unlike many philosophers who treated death as an abstract concept, Cabanis faced it daily in its raw, human reality. To him, death was not just the end of life, it was a teacher. It reminded him, and us, that life is fragile, fleeting, and therefore precious. He believed that mortality was what gave urgency to our choices. If we lived forever, our days might lose meaning. But because our time is limited, each moment becomes priceless. Historical example. When Cabanis attended the deathbed of his friend Mirabeau, the revolutionary statesman, he saw how even powerful figures must surrender to mortality. Mirabeau, once one of the loudest voices in France, was reduced to whispers in his final hours. Cabanis recorded not only his decline but also the dignity with which he faced death. For Cabanis, this was a lesson: greatness is not measured by escaping mortality but by how we live in its shadow. Modern reflection. We live in a culture that often hides death: sanitized hospitals, funeral homes, euphemisms like passed away. But ignoring mortality doesn't make it disappear. In fact, it can make us live more carelessly, as if time were infinite. The pandemic reminded us collectively of what Cabanis always knew: life is short and unpredictable. Mortality is not just an ending, it is a reminder to live authentically now. Life lesson. Don't wait for tomorrow to live. Love boldly, pursue your purpose, and forgive quickly. Mortality is not our enemy, it is our motivator to live fully while we can. Lesson 9: Community strengthens the individual. Though often remembered as a solitary thinker, Cabanis was deeply engaged with society. He was part of intellectual circles, political debates, and revolutionary movements. He knew that individuals flourish not in isolation but in community. He compared society to a body: each person is like an organ. No organ can function well if the whole body is sick. Likewise, no individual can thrive in a community poisoned by ignorance, inequality, or injustice. Historical example. During the Revolution, Cabanis worked not only as a physician but also as a legislator and intellectual. He believed that healing the people's suffering required both medicine for the body and reforms for society. He advocated for hospitals, education, and public health measures, because he knew that individual well-being depended on collective well-being. Modern reflection. Today, individualism is often celebrated: do your own thing, look out for yourself. But Cabanis' wisdom reminds us that we rise or fall together. The pandemic showed that health is communal: one person's choices affect many. Education, too, is collective: when one generation fails to learn, the whole society suffers. This does not mean losing individuality. It means recognizing that personal growth is strongest when supported by community, and community thrives when individuals contribute their gifts. Life lesson. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, challenge you, and grow with you. Invest in your community, because your strength and theirs are intertwined. Lesson 10. Question everything, even what you believe. Perhaps the boldest lesson from Cabanis' life is his insistence on questioning, even when it made others uncomfortable. He challenged the dualist view of mind and body. He questioned religious dogmas that explained illness as punishment or curse. He even questioned aspects of philosophy itself, refusing to accept ideas without evidence. His materialist view of thought, that the brain produces ideas like an organ produces fluids, was radical in his time. It earned him both admirers and critics. Yet Cabanis remained committed to following truth wherever it led, even if it unsettled tradition. Historical example. In 1802, Cabanis published Rapports du physique et du moral de l'homme, the relations between the physical and the moral in man. In it, he argued that psychology should be studied scientifically, that thought is inseparable from physiology. This was groundbreaking and scandalous. Some accused him of reducing humans to machines. But in reality, he was laying the foundation for modern neuroscience and psychology. He was not afraid to ask, what if the things we take for granted are wrong? What if truth lies beyond what tradition allows us to see? Modern reflection. Today, questioning is still difficult. People face backlash for challenging norms, whether in science, politics, or culture. But progress comes only when we dare to question. Think of the scientists who challenged tobacco companies, the activists who challenged segregation, or the innovators who questioned technological limits. Cabanis' courage to question paved the way for entire fields of knowledge. His example reminds us that comfort is not the goal of truth-seeking, clarity is. Life lesson. Don't settle for easy answers. Don't cling to beliefs just because they're familiar. Question even yourself. Growth begins when you are brave enough to doubt. Conclusion: living the wisdom of Cabanis. Pierre-Jean-Georges Cabanis lived in a time of revolution, and his life was revolutionary in its own way. He challenged old ideas, bridged medicine and philosophy, and left behind lessons that are as relevant now as they were in 18th century France. From him, we learn that the mind and body are one, care for both. Science must serve humanity, not power. Health is the foundation of all happiness. Observation brings wisdom, judge slowly. Life is fragile, yet resilient, accept both truths. Education is the medicine of society. Reason and emotion must dance together, not fight. Mortality is not a curse but a reminder to live fully. Community is not optional, it is essential. Truth demands courage, question everything. These are not abstract philosophies. They are guides for living, today, tomorrow, and in whatever challenges we face. Cabanis himself did not live a long life. He died at 50 in 1808, but in that half-century, he left a legacy of thought and compassion that continues to inspire. He reminds us that wisdom is not about escaping our human condition but about embracing it fully, with clarity, care, and courage.